Okay. I'm gonna try to do this quick because my other camera's battery's dead. So all these little pieces that go for the gasoline fuel line to all the connectors were all stopped up from dirt daubers. So there was all the way full, all that was packed, caked in. This one was actually attached to the motor, but this end, the line was kind of turned a little bit, so they packed in there and in the line. And this one as well was caked all over both of those holes. This had a line coming off of it, so it was all right, but inside the line there was all kind of just nastiness. So I did something that's probably going to make people go crazy, but I soaked them in water overnight and used first I used like toothpick, and they kept breaking because it was still kind of dry and corroded down in here, or packed. So then I used a screwdriver, so that seemed to work. And then I would like fill this part up with some water, but I had just like a drop of Dawn in there. So then I don't know if you can see down in there, but I would push down in there to let it drain through, which I know they say you're never supposed to use water with anything having to do with your fuel line, but I thought it'd be alright because after I cleaned it out, I let it sit literally for hours. And then I'm also going to pump some gas through it before I hook it back up to the engine. But you can see that's my little pot where I had them soaked. I don't know if you can see down in there, but this is after I've rinsed it out several times. But you just let it sit and you'll see all that dirt and stuff that the dirt daubers packed in there. What's that they say about dirt daubers? They're like 18-year-old boys. They see a hole, they try to fill it. Well, they did. They filled it quite a bit. The fuel lines too, like the one where it's connected and it had a little bit of an angle, it was quite packed. Plus there was just all kind of nastiness in it, so I did the same thing. I actually put it in some hot soapy water and pumped it through to flush out the line. Plus this outside line was gross, so I tried to clean it up too. So I'm going to try to put these attachments on and actually pump some gas through it before I even hook it up to the engine, because I'm going to get a new one. I'm going to get a new line and probably all new connectors and everything, but for now all I'm trying to do is get it to where I can try to get the motor turned over. So it supposedly was running when it was parked, like whatever it was, 7 years ago. So before you blow me up in the comments, I know you're never supposed to use water, but trust me, I'm going to pump a lot of gas through it first and probably let it dry out and then do it again before I actually hook it up. So we'll have to see how that goes. I also took the cowling off and changed out the spark plug. So I got it hooked up, so I put the new spark plugs on all the times I've mentioned, but let me mention again, I do not know what I'm doing. This is all just experimental for me. I get help from people that post stuff on YouTube like this, and basically anyone I can ask. So, alright, I'm gonna try to figure out what wires are what, because I got a new battery for it, and then maybe try to crank it over. I gotta get my little water muffs to put around the engine, but we'll go from there. Okay, so I got the battery all hooked up, but the wires are horrible, and I normally take a picture of everything before I disconnect it, and I forgot to. But I think the only one I'm questioning is this, because they both are black. But that doesn't matter for the main power. I think it's, if you can see how bad the positive that's going to the motor is. Negative seems alright, but I think that's why it won't do anything. I hooked up basically all the wires one by one, kept adding them to see if I could get anything. That thing, which I found out is for the tilt, it makes a noise now, but I need something that will work on the motor, so I'm gonna have to get another positive cable to connect to the motor, and hopefully that'll do it. I might just go ahead and get a negative too, because they're both kind of bad. Alright, so that's where we're at. Okay, so as you just saw, that was actually several weeks ago when I changed out the plugs, but at the time I didn't have any sea foam. And when I first got the pontoon, or I was talking to a buddy of mine that's a mechanic, he said, hey, if that motor's been sitting for a long time, you need to spray some sea foam in it before you try to turn it over or anything, and let it sit in there for a while. So when I got the pontoon boat pulled out, I immediately took the plugs out and sprayed some sea foam in it and put the new plugs in, and then it just basically sat in there for probably about 2 weeks before I even got around to doing anything with the motor. And since it seemed like that helped, I'm going to do the same thing with this motor. I was going to take the cover off anyway to try to figure out what gauge wire, that ignition wire that was split, is, so that way I can get one to or get some more wire that gauge so I can splice it and get that taken care of, because I'm hoping that's the only thing preventing it from being able to turn over. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna take the cowling off, check that gauge, pull the spark plugs and spray some sea foam in there, and then put the spark plugs back. The last plug is like about right there, so I've got to actually reach in there with my hand and use a wrench, because this will not fit in there. Okay, that's it for that. I'm gonna let that sea foam sit in there for at least a couple weeks and let it do its thing. but I'm going to go ahead and try to see if I can get that wire. Let me change the gloves since I got seafoam spread all over them, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so down in there is the wire I'm talking about. You can see how it split right in half, and it's not as thick as these other two. It goes to that middle bolt right there. That's what I'm thinking is the ignition, the wire for the ignition switch, but I could be wrong. If you know what it is, hit me up in the comments, but until I hear differently, that's what I'm going with. But anyway, it's definitely a smaller gauge, so I'm going to try to get it out, take that bolt out. I'm thinking it might be like 10 or maybe 12, but whatever it is, I'm going to get it out so that way I have some 10 gauge and some 16 gauge for the pontoon, but I'm going to see if I can't replace it, or at least cut it back to here, splice it, and then run a new connector to be able to put it on there to eventually try to kick this thing over. Just found another one that's broke. No idea what that goes to. Sucks. Broke the little, it goes through there, and I had another clip there to put that screw through, but oh well. Yes, basically it needs a new inside wiring harness, and the outside doesn't look that great either. So, but I'll have to look, see how to take all this off to be able to get that completely off. But there's really nothing more I can do today, so I have to just seal it back up. Yeah, so basically after looking at it, I'm not going to be able to do anything with this motor. I mean, pretty much all the wires need to be replaced, so I mean it needs to be completely rewired, and I'll need to get a new inside wiring harness, a new outside, most likely a new control box as well. So unfortunately I think this is going to have to sit until I get some more time, or at least until I finish up the pontoon. So yeah, unless I can find someone that can do it fairly cheap. But yep, I think that's gonna be it for the Laurel until I get some other stuff out of the way. And maybe it's getting into summer, so it's gonna be hot. Maybe next winter I'll take it off and put it in the barn and maybe just tinker with it and try to do a couple wires at a time or something. I don't know. I need to get a manual for it too, just to make sure I don't mess anything up. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button as well, and share this video out. Alright, thanks.